In terms of entrepreneurship, yeah, what makes a successful entrepreneur?
And one thing that actually makes an organization really strong in terms of entrepreneurship is the leadership. It's number one thing in entrepreneurship is to actually get up and raise your hand that you're gonna be the person to solve that problem.
Now, how can a person stay productive?
I hope somebody that's out there listening is really motivated by your story.
Yeah, sure.
When you understand what God has already said, then you are obedient to that, then that helps you discover what is not written or what He wants you to actually be able to do.
But nobody asks a question like, how do you stay poor?
You are watching the Fortunate Mindset Podcast.
All right. So we're back here and we're so excited to have this episode with a person that I was really hoping since this podcast has started. I wanted to have him personally here. We talked and he was like, he has a lot of things because he has a lot of things. So before we even introduce him, let's start with the quote. A quiet mind learns better. A quiet mind observes better. A quiet mind acts better. What do you think about it, Taylor?
I think this quote tells me a lot. It tells me the importance of observing your thoughts. And a quiet mind really just tells you that it's important for you to, before you act, to listen to yourself first and remove all the stresses away from your life. It makes it easy for you to be able to take decisions. I like this quote a lot that you shared.
So, welcome back to the Fortunate Mindset Podcast. Here, Jonathan, with my brother Taylor, we have a person that we've brought today is an entrepreneur, a businessman, a biomedical engineer, and then he has a podcast too. He's a podcast host with his friend, and they talk about really wonderful things.
He's also a CEO.
Definitely. I was about to forget about that.
CEO of his own company.
Bought a company, right?
Bought a company.
So today we're going to dive into that topic, talking about the mindset of a successful entrepreneur.
Yeah, certainly.
We're going to dive into what makes the difference between a successful mindset with the rest of the world. What are the habits and the mindset that a successful entrepreneur can have? So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Adam Shebindu.
Welcome.
Hey, sir.
All right, hello.
Nice to have you.
It's really a pleasure to be here.
How you doing today, sir?
Man, I'm doing amazing, living the dream. Came to America to pursue the American dream, and we are finding our way.
What is the dream?
Man, that's big. So I'm one of those believers that if your dream does not scare you, it's not big enough. So it's very hard for me to quantify or to put together how far I can go in terms of the capacity of things that I can achieve, or I really don't put any bounds. So when it comes to the dream, and of course America has kind of just been a great place for me to be and to be able to do what I do. And it's so huge. I think I remember when I was in college, there was a faculty, a professor who started off his courses telling people, asking everyone in his class that in 120 years from now, like he said, okay, 5 years from now, where do you want to be? And in 120 years from now, where do you want to be?
Wow.
Most people were like, I'll be dead. Right? So we had that I'll be dead. And he went around and a lot of people never really thought about it. And I ended up building a really good connection with that professor. That guy, he's the most decorated fluid dynamist in the world. So he was 76 at the time. He's probably in his 80s right now. But he's still pretty strong. His resume is 66 page long. So you can imagine, that guy's achieved everything you can imagine. Yeah. So I ended up I was like, you know what? I always like that question.
Yeah, okay.
Because to me, I think a lot of things are supposed to be planned, supposed to be imagined. Your imagination should not have any limitation. You should be as big as possible. I just look at him and I was telling him, hey, I'm going to win 2 Nobel Prizes. One is going to be a peace prize and another one is going to be medicine. And he was like, man, like those are 2 different areas. How? Well, I just told him that we could use medicine for good.
Yeah.
We can reinvent new way of doing medicine. We can, and it's actually, there's a lot of effort all around the world right now to push for this type of stuff. But that was too long for an introduction. But,
No, that's good.
So, but the dream is definitely big. I can't quantify it. I can't put it within like a 1 hour podcast. It's stuff that I have established and built I've been doing for the last probably 7-8 years. So it's it's been really interesting.
Talking about the 7-8 years, so since that you come in United States, can you bring us like in short answer, what are the most challenging things that you faced and how did you overcome them?
Very good question. I faced a lot. The language barrier, coming here, not speaking English at all. The fact that I came straight to Dallas. Dallas is a very, it's more or less, maybe in the suburbs are a little bit better, but the Dallas area in general is a very individualistic place where everyone is pretty much on their own corners. You don't know your neighbor. You can't talk to a person in the bus.
Yep.
It's just everybody's minding their own business and focusing on whatever comes next. And coming from a country in a community in Congo where when you get on the bus and you don't say hi to people, they get upset.
Yeah.
So like people be like, who do you think you are? You just pass us. They're complete strangers. So, but you have to communicate with them. People who used to debate actually about sport or about politics in the bus and you could forget your stop. Okay. So I came from that type of society to a society that is very individualistic. That was a huge challenge that I end up facing, but a lot of the challenges, I really don't see them as challenges. I just see them as opportunity to adapt and learn and to be able to actually bring something out of it.
Sure.
So it's been like that, but through that, I was able kind of like to just also discover another part of me that I had I had to now be able, within a very individualistic society, but how do you now break this boundary of individualism and actually get to know people?
Right.
So I was able to know people and moved to West Texas to Lubbock, where I think I knew over 200 people in Lubbock. I knew people in every corner of the city, from like 100 and something streets all the way to like First Street, Avenue A to Avenue Z. Like I knew people from all across level of society in Lubbock. So that actually has been was one way of me to overcome those type of challenges. I face ageism. It's something that a lot of people don't face.
What is that?
Good question. A lot of people don't know. Ageism is just the fact that you feel like you are being discriminated against because of your age.
Oh, okay.
Some people think that you are too young. Or not too old. I've never experienced that, but I've experienced where people don't really just trust you, or people kind of just push you aside over the reason that you are very young. Some people get impressed, but some people also get like, man, you are too young for this. You should not be here, or you should not be doing that. So face a lot of imposter syndrome. Where you just feel like, I'm the old one here, or because I'm young, I'm supposed to accept a certain way of being treated. So I faced that quite a few times, where also coming from a very paternalistic society in Africa, where your father is up here and is instructing everyone else down. So you kind of just feel like you also have that type of relationship even at work, with your boss, with everybody else that you get to interact with. Like, hey, I'm the young kid here, gotta respect the older person, which is great. It's a great value that we have in society. But when that is combined with ageism, for so long, I push a rhetoric that's, hey, maturity is not a function of age. It's a function of experience and exposure.
Right.
When you've been exposed to different stuff, you've experienced different stuff, you're getting more and more mature. And exposure is something we choose.
Sure.
So I choose to expose myself to certain realities, or not. Or I could just choose to stay in my house and I'll be a 20-year-old who knows nothing. So I was a 20-year-old in graduate school.
Yeah.
got I finished my undergrad. I was 20. Was not even 21 when I graduated from college, and had to deal with ageism. Had to deal with these different people who do not get to deal with you. Get also even recently, I've faced some cases where some people just doubted a lot of the stuff that I was able to achieve by myself, because I come from a decently privileged background.
Okay.
Come from a family that is very decent. I don't take that back. I don't feel a type of way of saying that, I'm not the stereotypical African guy that you're gonna meet. I always tell like a lot of, back when I was in college, I was still like, hey, I would be really sad if somebody's being very racist to me, because you are here, you're going to school, you took a lot of loans and all this different stuff. I came from a place where somebody pulled out $100,000 cash and paid for the school, type of stuff. So it's you get to experience also that, where people be like, oh yeah, you are being that good because your family is so and so, which is true. I don't disown the fact that I see my family as a ladder. They have helped me climb and get to the top in many ways possible. But again, I had to put on a lot of work and a lot of efforts that came with that. So, but that's quite a lot for a simple answer, for a simple question. But
Sure.
So Adam, speak to the youth that are looking to find their passion and their purpose in life. Because I've known you for a very long time. We grew up together and we went to school together and everything, and the university. I know you to be very intelligent and motivated. So speak to your younger self. What ignited your curiosity, and what ignited and sparked the interest in the things that you're currently doing for you to pursue your entrepreneurship, your business, and your education and everything else that you're doing?
yeah, so there's a lot of things that really sparked my passion and the things that I do. My career has had a lot of turns and changes. I started off trying to do petroleum engineer because my dad wanted that.
Oh, okay.
And then I ended up now discovering another aspect of me that was very innovative. So first, one thing that is true and that was factual is that every one of us has a natural curiosity.
Sure.
We judge every time. We walk in a room, there is something odd. In our heart, we are judging. We see somebody has a funny looking hairstyle. In our heart, we are judging them. Like, we really are.
Yeah.
It's just something you won't say out loud. But one thing I've learned, and something that's actually driven a passion of mine, is that I have changed a lot of those judgments that I had about society, about people, transform them into questions.
Oh.
And once you ask a very honest and clear question, it puts you on a pursuit for an answer. And when you get on a pursuit of trying to find an answer, then you start now building this drive until the question is answered. You don't feel that you are satisfied. And that will go with relationship development, how I meet people, how I talk to people. I keep on digging. I ask questions, I keep on asking, I'll try to get to know them. That's on the people aspect. On career aspect, the way of discovering my passion is actually very interesting. I meet with a group of friends on Saturday morning where we've been studying a book called Living a Purpose-Driven Life.
Yes.
And there's a kind of a very small chapter in that book that also became like a tiny book that is called What on Earth Am I Here For?
Oh.
And we've been kind of just diving into that. And I've been telling people that I have basically, I discovered so early on my feeling and my wants, my passion and my purpose of serving other people so early that from high school even, I was already I was tutoring people, I was helping people. I remember, I think we had one of Taylor's friends. One day I just came to the US, started school, and I was telling this, we were all, I don't know if Taylor remembers, but we're Taylor, Isaac, and I, and one of Taylor's friends, and they were in high school at the time, and I was telling them like, hey, how help people with homework, and this guy was going, dude, American gonna use you. He told me that, right? He told me that. So like, American gonna use you, but I never really felt that way that I was being used to. I was being. It's just for me, it was the most satisfying thing.
Yeah.
Ended up helping people, and then you start thinking of how else can I help?
Yeah.
You start asking that question. A lot of my passion also come of the fact that I'm a Christian as well. Last year I read a book by an author. His name is Jonathan Pokluda.
Yeah.
Other people know him as JP. I'm actually hoping to host him on my podcast soon.
Okay.
He's a very incredible guy. He leads a pretty big church in Waco. He wrote a book on adulting, basically, and that book has this 42 days devotion where you learn about finances, God, relationships, and all that stuff. And he asked a very interesting question there, that even though I knew my purpose before, even though I knew how well I fit, when I read that book and I ended up hearing that question, he says that we have 5 love languages. Like, people have like between each other. We say like, you can love a person this way.
Yeah.
He asked the question in the book. He said, what is your love God language?
Yeah. It's curious.
What is the place where you feel the most intimate with God? What is that thing that you do that gets you that strong connection closer to God? Man, I stayed for a second. I was like, I've been a Christian for my entire life.
Yeah.
And I've never thought of there could be a love language where you feel God the most, or how you connect with God more. Is it like when you're driving your car to work and you're just kind of connecting with God that time? Or is it when you're in the shower? Or how do you get that connection? And to me, after really just thinking and boiling over it, I discovered that to me was to serve.
Sure.
To serve at every capacity. I'm involved in different aspects of ministries. I'm involved in, even at work. Involved with work ministry. I'm involved with like showcasing Christianity and science. And so all of those things, kind of just to the question of Taylor, helped me really discover my purpose. I found a foundation that was very strong in Christ. And after finding that foundation, it really helped me now discover what path. And a scripture really that says, really kind of just boiling and been coming back to my mind is, I think it's Colossians chapter 3, I think verse 16 or verse 26, where the Bible is saying that everything that you do it as though you are doing it for the Lord and not for man. So that really drive the passion. It's like the work that I'm doing, this is for the glory of God. This is something that going to help millions of people. It's not going to be stopped at one place. That really helped me discover. So the books that I read helped me. The foundation in Christianity helped me. And that eager desire for answers.
Sure.
That drives me every single day. I quit jobs. I do everything just so I'm like, hey, this is not aligning. Even businesses, I quit a project because this is not really aligning with the purpose that I'm supposed to serve. So like, once when you trust, when you understand what God has already said in His Word, then you are obedient to that, then that helps you discover what is not written or what He wants you to actually be able to do. And He blesses you now with the talents for you to be able to achieve it. And you will see it. It's one click. It brings joy to your face. Like you glow out. You get this glow, and after you discover what on earth you're here for. So it's
So what would you say then is in terms of entrepreneurship? What makes a successful entrepreneur?
So there's a few things. Again, I'm going to refer back to a book. I read quite a lot. I read quite a lot.
Go ahead.
We promote
There's
books.
a book,
lot of
I think
books
it's
here.
Jim Allen, or is it Jim Allen? It might be.
Yeah.
Wrote a book called Good to Great.
I've heard of that book.
Good to Great. What makes great organizations versus good organizations?
Yeah.
Sure.
What pushes, especially in the American system. I think America is probably one of the only few places in the world where you could read, where such books are popular. Other places like Europe, people tend to be more philosophical, socialistic,
Sure.
telling stories and
Exactly.
stuff. But here, people tend to tell me what to do so I can get it done and I can actually succeed. Good to Great is one of all those ideas. And one thing that actually makes an organization really strong in terms of entrepreneurship is the leadership.
Oh, yeah.
I'm writing a book right now. It's called Raise Your Hand. The book is basically talking about the life of David in the Bible.
Oh, okay.
And in that book, and I'm gonna give you 5 things that really makes anybody really great and successful. And this has been things that, if I'm writing about them, it's been I've experienced them, and I feel like they're gonna be such a strong part of my book.
Sure.
So the story of David, we are told kind of like ever since we're little children, like, you know, David has this slingshot and he, you know, launched the sling, they stoned to Goliath, and Goliath died, and so on. There are a few details that people forget when they talk about the story of David. A part of them was first, David had no abilities whatsoever. Yeah, he had no strength, nothing. He was just a regular, decent guy who was young and got anointed king, and he was a shepherd boy. And people tend to ignore David's experience as a shepherd boy.
Yeah.
As a shepherd boy, David killed a lion and a bear.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible for a 14, 15-year-old. Think about it. You are 14, you are 15, and you have taken down these things. And that's why I kind of push back on the idea, on people who have really showed me ageism, showing me like, hey, you are too young for this, or you know, you can't be doing all these things. David killed a lion and a bear at 14 or 15 years old. And that is a crucial experience that put him in the right position to actually kill Goliath.
Yeah.
Because when he was doubted, when people did not want to invest into David, and that I'm bringing the entrepreneurship part. Yeah. When David had an idea, he found a challenge in society. Yeah. He did some, a little bit of market research, a little bit of like asking questions. He actually did ask questions. Yeah. He showed up, he was at the right place, right time. They sent him there. He arrived at that place. And when he got there, he asked around. He's like, hey, what are people here? Like, what's going on? What's that big challenge that people are having in this society, in this community? Like, what's going on? Yeah. And people telling him like, hey, there is this one big challenge out here. There is this problem that society has as of right now. And that problem is Goliath, like the giant guy that is so hard. And the way I think about it in my career, I think Goliath is Alzheimer's disease or Parkinson's disease because of the stuff that I study, or chronic pain, or you could think about it as in Congo, it's poverty. In Congo, it's development. It's to have technology, sustainable technology, AI, and all of this stuff that could be helping society. Yeah. It's such a huge challenge that David had in front of him. And when he got there, started asking, like, hey, what's going on? People tell him, like, hey, that's the challenge. Yeah. What David did next, David raised his hand. Yeah. It's number one thing in entrepreneurship is to actually get up and raise your hand that you're going to be the person to solve that problem. Yeah. That's number one thing. Second thing, well, investment. Sure. So people have to trust David. Yeah. People have to, to talk to David and be like,
give him a chance.
Yeah, be like, give him a chance. Yeah. People have to give him a chance. So you gotta pitch this. I mean, unless you come from, decently wealthy background where you have, some trust funds that you have like $10 million on your name and, whatever you want to do. For the majority of us, for the majority of us, it's not the case. But David trusted that he could basically go to a person who has power, who has the resources, and he got there. The interesting twist of the story is that they look at him, they're like, man,
you're so young.
You're so young. You're not just you are young. He looked like me. Like
small. He's tiny.
You see how I am? Like I am not that big. I'm not that strong. I'm not that tall. But when they doubted him, he pulled out his resume. Yeah. He's like, you know what? I got rid of a bear. Experience was strong. The guy had he had a PhD in killing bears. Like, think about it, right?
And lions.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
He had all this experience, and it's not just something that people knew about it. Like, yeah, I've done that. I got that done. So it doesn't matter how far you are. It doesn't matter only that if you have only a high school degree. You got a high school degree. You have to think about how many people drop out of high school in America. You can think about it.
Sure.
So when the next time you are having doubts about, raising your hand or moving forward into something, you got to think of the fact that first, you have achieved something.
Sure.
So all of that counts when you're pushing yourself into entrepreneurship. And then there's the 5 things that I said I'm going to mention. Of course, he bought himself credibility after that. The 5 things that I believe that could be very strong, and you can read them further in my book that it's coming out this summer, is number 1, David had the desire to actually go and change something in society.
Okay.
And within desire, there are 2 things, and I think Prophet William Branham actually talks about it in a very succinct way, because I use some of the lessons I learned from him in this aspect. He said that for you to do something, you gotta have a motive and an objective to get it done. David in 1 Samuel chapter 17. David, when a question is asked, or when you could ask David, like, hey, why do you have the desire to kill this Goliath? David responded, he said that his motive to go kill the Goliath is because a Philistine has defiled the army of the God of Israel. So that was his purpose. That was basically what drove him. And as for why, as for the objective that was at the end, this is within desire, as for objective, he said that it's so that the entire world will know that in Israel there is a God.
Yep.
So now you can think about it that way. That's deep into entrepreneurship. That's like it's a kind of a huge thing. It's like your motive and your objectives really matter when if you want to build a strong and great organization. Apart from that, now once you have your desire down, number 2 is that for the desire to actually have any value, you gotta build the character. In my book, I talk about the prayer life of David. I've been studying the Psalms over and over and kind of just like see, like, the guy was very depressed. You read the Psalms and you don't feel the depression. You're like, he was very deep, like a lot of depression. He talks about a lot of the analogies that he makes. Like, I was making a joke with some friends. I was telling them, like, I wish they could translate the Bible into pidgin English. Try to read the Bible. There are places in the Bible, in Psalms, where literally David is saying to God, like, if I put it in the Nigerian term, like, thunder fire you. Like, he's telling people, like, please God, send your thunders to fire these people. Literally, it's that way. You put it in an African way, right? You think about it that way. But in the end, David has a really strong character that he built from ever since he was a kid. He built this strong character, this way of approaching God. Apart from that, desire is great, character is great, and in business, character is what buys everything. If you can shake a hand of somebody and look at them in their eyes, and you can really just tell them that I can be able to do this, and they believe you and you're able to deliver, you build credibility. It's a huge character that you have. And all these stories, I'm getting it from the Bible. I'm not making up any of this. It's straight from the Bible. Character is huge. After character, number 3, to build a strong organization and a great entrepreneurship experience is skills. You got to be able to do something. David did not show up to Goliath with just a desire and character. Like, I'm a good guy, I'm a good person, I have, I really want to kill you because I'm good.
I have courage.
He had the skill with the slingshot.
He had the slingshot skills. He had the musical skills.
Right.
He played music and demons were able to flee.
And he could lead.
Very strongly. He could lead. I have a whole kind of chapter in my book on the leadership of David. And in every one of those chapters, actually, in desire, I talk about David's leadership. In character, I talk about David's leadership. In skills, I talk about David's leadership. Like I learned literally that David was around his 30s when he became king in Israel, and he was a king for 40 years, I believe. I think until he was 70. Like, I learned that. I was like, wow, this is very interesting. This guy was a very young general. Now those 3 things are the main things.
Okay.
If you want to make it any further, this is not just entrepreneurship. This is in any aspect of life,
Yep.
career, life, work, anywhere that I've experienced is that a person with a great desire,
Yeah.
like knowing clearly his motive and objective, which means understanding your purpose,
Yeah.
a person who has built character, and a person who has skills.
Skills.
Those three together, it really puts you in a really great spot.
Yeah.
Now, after you have that, now that's create a bridge to you
Yeah.
to two things. Those are the last two things.
Yeah.
One is impact, and the other is influence.
That's amazing.
If you take it in the life of David, you find that in terms of impact, David, after he killed Goliath, the Bible is saying, and this is 1 Samuel 18, that Saul made David a general in his army, and they went to war, and they came back, they found the women in the city, they were singing that Saul killed 1,000, David killed tens of thousands. So now see, look at the impact now in community where now his desire, his character, and his skill has really created such a huge impact in community.
Sure.
And then David's influence. We are talking about David on this podcast right now. So like think about the influence from the time of the Bible over 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
This David story, David's legacy led us to Christ. David's influence, David's impact led us to Christ.
Sure.
And God promised him all these things that his kingdom will reign forever, and all this great stuff that he was able to get. But that was based on the three things he did first: the desire for the Lord, and then the character, and then the skill. So, for your question, those are the 5 things
That's amazing.
that makes an organization very strong.
It's a good point that you bring
Bro,
up.
I love that. I've never thought of David that way. I have to
forward
be
to reading your
honest.
book, man.
I mean, we can't wait for the book.
I'm
You say the
excited.
summer?
Yeah, well, hopefully this summer I've been talking to some publishers,
Yeah.
and hopefully they can, they'll be able to have approved
You say
the books.
what is the title again?
Raise your hand.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, so it's basically taking on. So this book is designed for everybody, from entrepreneurs to people who want to go into evangelism.
Yeah.
I give some tips. I give some sales tips in there in the book, like some part of David's life, but adding that now, like helping people with ministry. Like if you've just been wondering, like what's your purpose is and how can you achieve whatever you're trying to achieve for God's glory, I'm challenging you to raise your hand in any things that you do. And in my life, it has paid up, and it's been such a great experience.
Good point, because a lot of our youth are scared to raise their hand to do something. They know they have the skill or they're gifted with something.
Yeah, sure.
But they're terrified of the outcome. Or they're just scared to raise their hand.
Definitely.
To
I
take the
mean,
risk.
talking about the desire, character, skills, and then that brings to impact and influence. So now let's say somebody have built all this, I would say it, all this
Character traits.
right? Now, how can a person stay productive?
Yeah.
Maintaining all this stuff, because with time, sometimes you get tired, sometimes you get overwhelmed, sometimes there are things that come a lot, and you don't know. You say David, when you read the Bible, Psalms, you feel like he was depressed.
He was. So he really was depressed. If you read them, like I'm reading them, I'm actually getting depressed in his place. I'm like, like, bro, like he wants his enemies to die and all of these things to happen, and I'm like, and it's not happening the way. Sometimes it doesn't happen the way he wanted to happen. So
sure. So, and then maybe because it's just a thought coming in my mind. Maybe he wasn't able to keep that productivity every time. So what kind of advice can you give to maintain that productivity, such as focus, time management, or as an entrepreneur?
But that's a very excellent question, and I'm glad you asked that question, because we face a lot of we have a lot of unproductive time. Even myself with my book, I've have enough. Actually did this 21 days of prayer and fasting. That's kind of came out of, like, this book came out of a lot of that, where I was just spending a lot of time with God and praying and then writing. I journal a lot as well. But what to answer your question directly is the way to maintain this focus is we live in a world of instant gratification.
Yeah, sure.
So if you want to actually stay productive, have a reward system that is so instant. Think about it. If you use social media, you'll understand this better. The reason why you keep watching those dog videos, I love dog videos. So
You want to buy a dog or what?
I probably want to get a dog or something. Man, like lately, I just kind of been, scrolling through, and Instagram has now known that I like the dog videos. So
They just keep
sending them my way.
sending dogs.
Yeah, but they kind of like, these dogs doing math or dog doing this. And I'm kind of just been into that lately. But the reason why a lot of those stuff takes so much of our focus, because the reward system, it feeds our reward system quickly. It's if I'm talking in terms of neuroscience, the dopamine, basically our dopamine level, it gives us really the reward system. We get high dopamine. Our dopamine level get high when we see something, when we do something, when we get something done.
Sure.
So you find one way of rewarding. I told you that in 2022 I read about 40 books, and you'll be wondering like, how did I go about reading 40 books?
When he told me, I was astonished.
Now,
40 books.
This is how I read 40 books. I read 40 books by talking about it.
Oh.
So the reason why I kept on reading is because like when I'm in a conversation with you, like this one, I felt like I just said something that came from the book, and somebody
That's
found
true,
value in it, and they want to hear more, and I'm like, this thing is bringing me a reward. It's not like I'm not winning money about this, or this is not pushing me really forward in a lot of way, but it's allowing me to keep up.
Sure.
So since I have a very instant gratification, since I'm using this stuff right here and right now, it helps. And that can look like different stuff. I mean, for podcasting, for example, I don't know how you feel when you have likes on your social media, on your podcast.
It feels so good.
Right? Think about it. Whenever your number of views go up, whenever you have a new subscriber, it's like those small things is what actually hold you for you to actually keep going. Sure. Right? So at every level, try to have some type of gratification you're getting out of. Don't just be. We have been preached this for so long that hey, the long haul and these big things that is supposed to be in some type of an extended future. They're like, yeah, man, be patient, and this big thing gonna come. It will, eventually, but it only will if you can get there. And for you to actually get there, is for you to maintain the motivation, to stay disciplined, for you to be able to actually make it there. And how do you stay disciplined? Is because you are getting those gratification. Think about your probably workouts, probably more than I do. When you go to the gym, you put on some weight and whatever, and then, man, you feel some type of way. Whatever feeling that you just got, what's going to bring you back to the gym the next day? It's not going to be the fact that in 10 years you're going to look bulky. No. It's
the high dopamine you get. The reaction and the happiness you get.
That happiness you get, that small thing that you get. If it's a business and you are selling a product, if you sell one product, there's a really good feeling that you get. If you get a lot of people interested in your product, people want to talk about it, every little, and then it builds up now. Once you start accomplishing bigger things, you start now kind of just getting it more and more. I remember when I was in college, kind of the story of how my company started. My company is based in the Congo, and I had no idea what we wanted to do, and we were just kind of in air for a lot of stuff. But when I was in college, I used to have this thing called 30 Minutes for Congo.
Okay.
This 30 Minutes for Congo was my 30 minutes during the day where I would just do something Congolese or inform myself about Congo. I'll read about Congolese economy. I can give you like a whole talk of how the economy system is based in Congo, what drives the economy, what are the measurement points, what are the growth, and all that stuff, because I spend like 30 minutes a day just scrolling through the World Bank website and kind of just see, not every day. And the other day I would watch a Congolese comedy. Like I see something funny on Instagram about Congo and we all laugh about it. I'll screenshot it, I'll post it on my WhatsApp, it creates some reaction. People want to reach out back, like stuff like that. I kept it going to the point where when I was able to raise my hand and do something about some of the challenges, I already knew a lot of these challenges. I did not lose touch with the Congo at all. I maintain focus. I know everything that's happening in the Congo, everywhere, honestly, around the country. Like everything that made it to news, anything from Congo that made it to the internet, I'm probably aware in one way or another. So I did that a lot. And then at the end, a company came out of it. Like ideas came out of it.
Sure.
So that's one way.
So Adam, talk to us about how you founded Bora, because I think it's a very interesting story that you should share, and also the challenge that you went through as the company has been ongoing. Apart from that, share some ideas as well. If other young entrepreneurs also have ideas that they would want to start exploiting and investing into, what can they do?
So I'm gonna start probably by the last part of the question.
Sure.
About the ideas, technology, AI.
Okay.
AI is big. AI is the future. I've been telling people that if AI can do your job better than you're doing your job, then start thinking either you change career or you just get on board and back AI. Right? If you cannot beat it, learn how to be good at it, right? So anything AI related is receiving, especially in Africa right now, even actually in America. There are some startups that are growing for AI every single day in this country.
Okay.
So if you have any measurable skills in this particular area, even if you don't, hang out with a friend who does.
Yeah.
Or just get the basic understanding of it. There are new jobs are being created right now in AI. People are called prompt engineer. They don't have an engineering degree. They just know what to tell things into an AI, and so it can answer. So it's actually a thing right now, where people are becoming prompt engineers. So as far as ideas are concerned, AI route will be, and I talked about that because Bora is really driving into AI, especially during the last 6 months. We've built some models. We are working on security and defense AI in Congo, where we are hoping to start border surveillance, or these different Congo is facing all these different problems in security and defense, and we are hoping that maybe we're gonna be the next thing into security. So we partner up with organizations that they are already good with AI, and we buy some share in those organizations, and we are building. So it's probably small right now, but in a few years from now, it's gonna be big. Bora, the way it started, there's two sides to Bora.
Okay.
There's one side of Bora that studied at Texas Tech when I was still a student. Again, Raise Your Hand has been a part of my story even before I started writing the book. It's really just been a huge part of it. I remember being at Texas Tech, and the Texas Tech, they had this student organization that's called the Tech CEOs.
Oh, okay.
And Texas Tech has this very state-of-the-art facility. It's 44,000 square foot, I think. It's called the Texas Tech Innovation Hub.
Okay.
It's one of the beauties about going to school in America. Because although I still feel like the American education system is still not worth it, but America gives you access to facilities and resources that nowhere else in the world you have access to. And the Innovation Hub was one of the biggest one at Texas Tech. It was just this huge facility that if you just have ideas, go there.
Okay.
You don't even have to have money. You don't even have to have people. Just go. So we showed up. And this Texas Tech CEO's organization, collegiate entrepreneurship organization, we showed up there, and they had this thing where they were just kind of playing a game hey, show up in the front and throw out an idea, and if people are interested in your idea, you're probably going to get out of a team. I did that. I had this random idea about designing a water bottle inside, a refrigerator inside a water bottle. And it was very tough and complicated to do, but it got my foot in the door. It was, and some people liked it. Man, this sounds so cool. I was I'm an engineer. I'm not a business person. I know nothing about business pretty much. I'm going to learn everything to go. We got a guy who was a business major who joined, another lady, she was an engineer, joined. We started cooking up something. We won some awards with that. And then when I was thinking, what do we name this? we're like we have something really cool and we could win money and we could, we can actually get a momentum going here. And we're like, what do we name this? I called my dad. My dad was trying to get credit from this. And I was like, Dad, man, come on. My dad wanted me to be a petroleum engineer. There's no way like a petroleum engineer could create something like this.
Yeah.
And then my dad was giving me some name. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to name it Bora. Bora in Swahili means better.
Oh.
Better everything. A better technology, a better life, a better way of doing things. And the way we put it, actually, our slogan in Africa is engineering a better Africa.
Oh.
So Bora's, it's kind of, that's the slogan that we have. So with all of that, the different conversations that we started having around that, it created this concept. We ran into some issue with licensing and stuff at Texas Tech. We decided to kind of just hide that. And after I graduated from Texas Tech, I didn't have a job. The pandemic just started, and the whole world was at home.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, it's about time to get out. And if you would ask me at the time, like, what's the project? What are we going to work on? Man, I didn't know.
Okay.
But I had a quote by Steve Jobs.
Okay.
That's Steve Jobs or Tim Cook, one of the two. But that say like we hire smart people so they can tell us what to do.
Oh.
So
I think that is Steve Jobs.
I think that's Steve Jobs who said, like, I've been saying this quote like all over and over. That's where Bora started. Is the fact that I was at the gym. The pandemic had just started. And they're shutting off a few things. I have no job, struggling into Dallas. Like I was in Fort Worth at the time. And I'm like, I literally just went on my WhatsApp and wrote on my WhatsApp status, I am hiring.
No.
No money, no resources, no project, nothing meaningful. I am hiring. Put out the offer, post it on Facebook. Man, I had 50 people send me their resume. 50 in Congo send me their resume. And I was like, wow, so it was fun. It gave me a purpose. It gave me something to do. Like, I was home. I was really just like playing video game with my brother. Like, he got so good at playing FIFA, he started beating me. So it became so crazy because we were all stuck at home. The apartment was pretty small. My brother, Isaac, they all play music. Sometimes they would just start singing and playing music. I'm like, I just want to get some rest. And it's the pandemic. Nobody's going anywhere. So we started having that.
We talked about the early challenges as well.
Yeah.
That's what
so
helped you.
A lot of that, we had no project. We had no resources. We didn't know what to do. Then I got a group of smart people together. Out of the 50 people who applied, I was like, I don't want the guy who has 10 years of experience because what am I going to pay him? And how are we going to work? I probably want the guy who is insanely curious, who is almost like me, graduating or has already graduated and has nothing else to do like me, but graduated top of their program. And in Congo, that's really like music. There's a lot of people super smart that really just did not have. So I reach out. Some of them I never even met them, and some of them I knew them. I was like, this is why they were like. I was like, hey, you know what? We said. My challenge for the interview, after people got the job, the 5 people I got, I told them, like, give me the 5 ideas, the 5 challenges that you saw in the world, that you felt, or in your society in the Congo, that you felt like you want to change when you became an engineer. What are those 5 things, 5 projects, 5 things that you know, not just my dad pushed me into this or just good at math. No, it's those 5 problems in society that you felt like changing. And it was just kind of like, you know how weeds spread so quickly? Like people, I had like 25 ideas. Wow. Like 5 people, smart. Each one gave 5 ideas. 25 ideas. My job was to be the cheerleader now. To figure out like, what's part of these, what of these ideas can turn into an actual business. And that's how we built Bora.
That's amazing.
And early on, we faced a lot of challenges, manufacturing challenges in Congo. We can't manufacture anything. We have to import everything from Congo, so sending stuff to Congo was hard. Capital. We had issues with capital. I remember my very first $500 I got from my dad. I had no job. I was like, hey, Dad, I need to buy a 3D printer. if you ever given me anything, give me $500. So he gave me 500. We bought a 3D printer. We started putting stuff together. Next thing we know, we were on the news. People started getting interested. We started helping with the fight of COVID in the Congo. We did a lot of work with, printing some materials for COVID, basically to protect against COVID in the Congo. The momentum got there, and then we kind of started narrowing again the ideas smaller and smaller until Bora found its niche, and its niche it came down to engineering and education.
Yeah.
So we build education technology for people. So like we're involved, like right now we just developed a VR-based education system where like a kid just wear a VR headset and they are in a classroom and they can learn anything they want, like from physics to chemistry to all this stuff.
Great.
So we've that was some of the successes that we've had. We have had like these camps, like STEM camps for kids. We have our business model right now is based on like growing up in Congo, we did not have a lot of labs. And even less engineering labs. Yeah. And what we do, we just bring engineering materials like labs, material like 3D printer, laser cutter, like CNC machines, and all these different equipment like Arduino kits and so on. And kids basically get to learn. We also train the people who we use it, we create the material, the books and so on. And the schools get to pay us every month.
Yeah.
So that's the business model that is there right now. So we have pivoted in a lot of things. We have had a lot of idleness time. We have had a lot of partners that were not really present. So you don't hear from them in a while. So that's has been one of an issue that we've had. Finances. We've had also the challenges of my own personal life. That has kind of like also impacted a lot of the work that we've been able to accomplish. But every time we kind of we are beat down, we tend to get up and kind of just push again the boundary a little further, just a few more inches further. And it's been the story of Bora, honestly. Right now, we are hoping to actually even open in the US.
Great.
Hopefully in the next year, we should have Bora US. We've been trying to secure some software deals here. If we get them, when we get them, because the conversations have been great. As I told you, raise your hand, shake the hand, and look at somebody in the face.
Somebody in the face, sure.
Yeah,
sure.
In America it works. I've understood you don't have to reinvent the wheel in this country.
Right.
You just gotta know the right people who are interested in your stuff and do it as best you can. So we have and since we work with very smart people, they've been really helpful. Like this year, even something big is coming up with Bora and AI and a few more organizations in the Congo that we're gonna probably reveal very soon. Yeah. But there's a few things that have driven Bora, and kind of just that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, sure.
I hope somebody
that's
out there listening is really motivated by your story.
Yeah, sure.
And
Definitely.
can take your story as something that they can also relate to. They can really stay motivated, and if they have something that they're passionate about, an area that they think they should really continue to pursue, your story serves as an example for them to just continue on, and you're also a resource for. And I think a lot of people look up to what you've already done and what you're going to continue to accomplish. So, yeah.
I really love that. So, as I've understood Adam's stories, right? And as we've gone so far, I know you started with mechanical engineer at Texas Tech. Then you went to become a biomedical engineer.
Yes.
And you are an entrepreneur. And as Taylor emphasizes, the CEO. You are the CEO too. So it's quite a lot, right? Having a lot of things to do, doing researches. And you also actually teach in the college.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of things to do. So now, how can somebody really make sure with all of this stuff? Let's say a student right now that have school, they have work at the same time. They combine exercises, assignment, school, all the things together. A lot of things, no time to rest. So how can somebody really prioritize their self-care, right? Their wellness, such as in exercising, meditation, to really keep themselves focused and their health. Because if your health is not good, you won't be able to do everything that you're doing. So how can I balance to maintain, prioritize my self-care and my wellness?
That's a very good question. I struggled with that for a very long time. When we started off Bora, and even 2 years into doing Bora, I was not sleeping. When you are a CEO, the other definition of CEO is Chief Everything Officer.
Wow.
You are the
Snatch
social
chief.
media guy.
Yeah.
You are the marketing guy. You are the accounting guy. You also are the lawyer in a certain point.
Yeah,
When you are
you're everything.
when you are starting a new organization, that's what it is. You are basically everywhere all at the same time, which meant I got 3 to 4 hours of sleep every night. And I used to think I'm one of these people who convince myself of stuff. Like if I could convince my brain that this is okay,
Yeah.
and my brain will be locked in and strongly believe that this is okay.
Okay.
So my brain, I used to tell myself, like, sleeping is a, I used to call it it's a biological constraint, which means you
Okay.
can get in a habit of just not even sleeping a lot. You sleep a little bit and you should be okay. And after that, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And fast forward, 2 years later, Bora is running by itself. Like, people are doing what they're supposed to do. I don't have to be babysitting anybody or anything anymore. But my body is locked into a habit of never sleeping. So I really got into that cycle of never sleeping, and my physical health went to the problem. I remember late 2021, I started getting sick. It got worse because I was like, you know what, maybe because I don't work out, that's why. So I started working out a little bit. And then I'm naturally a high energy person. So you meet me at 7 a.m., you meet me at 11 p.m.
You're always energetic. That I know
we
for
get
a
it
fact.
going. We get it going, right? But also the work that I do, my day work, my day job that's not outside of Bora is research. And
Yeah.
research requires a brain that is actually working. And I thought, like, maybe working out is going to help me. And then it didn't. It actually made things worse for me. That I will get up at 6. I even work. Man, I was sleeping for 4 hours. So by 4 a.m. I was already awake, and I'm wandering around. And 5 a.m. I'll go to the gym, back home at 6, make breakfast and get ready. And man, by 4 p.m. I'm already like dead.
Yeah.
My brain doesn't want to do anything else anymore. I'm tired, and I still have so much work to do. Like,
Pushing yourself.
so I'm like, man, something. I was like, is working out just making things worse for me? And then I started now. I went to Twitter. I think I have an episode on this on my podcast. The idea of habit formation.
Oh, okay.
Most of the stuff
We're
that
gonna
we
link
do,
that
yeah,
there to the in
most
the
of the
description.
stuff that we do, they are force of habit. A lot of things that we do them on autopilot. I don't even think that you thought about brushing your teeth this morning, but you did brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Think about it that way. When you drove here, you probably did not notice that you were driving here. You're just driving here. You
getting
just got here. Like,
Yeah.
your entire body is formed into a habit.
Okay.
So when you incorporate your health as a part of a habit, and you discover like what are the different things, how can you like a lot of the stuff for Bora, a lot of the stuff for my research, a lot of the stuff of teaching, I have incorporated them into a habit in such a way that it has become really a part of my life. And then the rest of my life is that now that I use for self-care and all these different stuff. It's just like everything else, it's so automated into me to think about my research. Even as I'm here, I could be having a conversation with you. You say something, it triggers something in my mind because my mind is always expecting to hear in a conversation, in a talk, in arguments, something that would hit into my research, and it's really just gonna work. Same thing with business. So I have put a lot of stuff on autopilot. And the way I was able to do that is through a lot of the habit tracking. When I discovered that I was not sleeping, I was not, like, my health was just getting poor. I had a big exam. One of my biggest PhD exam was about to happen, like a week before. I was just so sick, and I was like, man, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. It's like I can't. I'm starting I'm being forgetful. so many things were just going wrong. Then I just decided to track my habit. I bought a habit tracking journal.
Okay.
If you saw me in the morning, you think I'm crazy because I will be calling things out. I have my phone, I have my wallet, I have my ID, I'm putting my pants on. Very intentionally calling things out, designing them into a habit.
Okay.
In such a way that, I have. And then I started finding out, like, I think the book that I talk about in that podcast is James Clear's Atomic Habit book.
Yeah. A great book.
I was like, what is the one thing, the smallest thing that I could make in terms of changes that could change my sleeping habits and everything? So after 1 week of tracking my habits, I realized that the very first thing that I do when I wake up in the morning is check on my phone and check on Deborah's emails and check and there's nothing, every day is the same. It never changed. Nobody's sending me emails at that time, nothing. But it's 4 a.m., I'm awake, I'm checking Bora's trends on social media. Like, I'm seeing hey, are we getting more likes? All these different things. And then I was like, okay, so the catalyst, after studying for a week what's really my habits were being about, I found out that the catalyst was my phone in my room. I started putting my phone in the living room.
Before you sleep.
Before I sleep. I put it in the living room before I sleep. I would go to sleep. I would just put an alarm on so I can hear. Man, after I did that for 3 days, I was sleeping for 7 hours.
Oh my God.
It was a world. It changed everything.
Just the fact of changing
one tiny
place,
thing, just moving my phone. I wake up in the morning and I'll do this and it's not there. And I made it so hard because my living room, I have to get up and walk, get to the living room, pick up my phone.
Yeah.
It was so hard to do.
Crazy how people are attached to this technology as well.
It's so. I was like, oh my. And if you go to my apartment, right? My apartment, even before then, I just designed my apartment.
Oh yeah.
I designed it. I designed it to the fact that I have my books at a certain place. Like literally, I made it so easy for me to read that there's a corner of my couch that when I'm sitting there, there's nothing else that I'm feeling apart from just picking up a book. And the book is always there. Like it's not too far.
Yeah.
It's there. If it's my health, it's my cooking. I cook a lot. I do not eat out.
I've seen it on your social media.
I cook a lot. I do not eat out. So all of those stuff, I include them as a part of. They're part of my life. They're part of things that I enjoy. But the way also for me to keep up with them is that they have to sustain the big things I'm doing, which means I have to get lessons out of it. Because I'm a teacher. I want to give lessons. I want to give an experience. So I have a second book that I've been writing. It's just been lagging for a long time, which is my experience of cooking. So it's a problem-solving ability based on cooking. So I'm saying that if you can cook, you can solve complex problems. And I've been writing about this book of like the steps of cooking and how you can cook your solution. How as engineers we think about the final product before we start. And stuff like that. So all this, I've kind of incorporated everything into both my personal life, my professional life, my business life. I've created a kind of an automated way of getting things done and taking care of myself. I also I love serving people. And we live in America where they have kind of developed a way to serve in a fun way. So if you join organizations like churches and all these NGOs and stuff, they still want to do something fun. They don't want it to be boring, to just be it feels like it's a whole labor on you. So I've also kind of joined stuff like that where I go help, I volunteer. Even teaching has also been that way. So that's kind of a huge part of it.
Yeah. So actually, we really love this place in this podcast, and if you've made it so far, we really thank you and really appreciate your time. And if this is the first time that you listen to us, watch us, we will invite you to join our community and to subscribe to the Fortunate Mindset podcast. Why? Because it's a place where we talk about challenges of youth in general, either it's in entrepreneurship, relationship, business, or life in education too. So if we get back to Adam and talk, I would prefer put it this way. We talk about more, you've talked about where your company is, you talk about the Congo and everything. So what are those food things that you think we can develop in Africa?
Things that we could develop in Africa?
Yeah.
I would, I think people can read about this as much as they want. The UN came up with this 21 form of sustainability, or I think it's a SG21, something like that, sustainability goals, But I put it 4 ways. Actually, there are 4 things that are essential. In 2018, when when I was doing my 30 minutes for Congo thing, I came across an article by the Washington Post that said the future is African and America is not prepared.
Wow.
And the Washington Post was talking about the potential of Africa.
Okay.
The potential of being that the continent itself has about 70% of Africa is under 35. Which means, I think, the youth. By 2050, about 40% of the world youth is going to be African.
Wow.
So that's a huge population. Cities like Kinshasa are going to be Kinshasa actually is going to be the most populous city in the world with a population of under 35. Think about 70% under 35. Now you can tap into this. You can invest a lot into this. 4 things that are huge. You invest in energy.
Yeah.
Energy is like huge
Massive.
part.
Yeah.
You invest in real estate. There's a huge part, real estate. You invest in food, and you invest in medicine. Everything else will come from there. You can develop technology for all those areas. You can build AI for all those areas.
Yep.
You can educate people in all of those areas.
Especially medicine. Medicine is big.
Yeah.
So that's actually where we are driving Bora. Bora's, it's not a secret anymore, and it's now it's no longer a long-term plan. It's now kind of a very short-term thing. Bora is developing something called, within Bora, we have something called, so Bora is like a 3-company structure. So there are 3 independent organizations that are within Bora, and I got inspired a lot by Elon Musk. I like the guy. I know a lot of people hate the guy, but
That's why
I've learned a lot from the guy.
That's why you have a Tesla?
Well, yeah, true. True. It's incredible. And lately, Tesla gave me like the full self-driving now. So now my car can take me anywhere.
I've seen if you're excited
Bro,
about
it's
that.
so cool. It's an amazing thing. But yeah, so I got inspired by Elon Musk. I built. We have Bora Technology, which is like Tesla or SpaceX, which is like a technology company where we build tools and technology and education for technology and all that stuff. And then we have the Bora Science Magazine, where we are trying to retell and rewrite the story, which it's under the Bora Scientific Journal, which we're trying to have a journal of publication for Congolese authors and publish them in the Congo.
Nice.
And then showcasing the work of Congolese by the magazine.
Okay.
So we have that. We've been publishing that, I think, every 2 years or so. And then the thing that I was now about to mention is the Bora Research Group.
Okay.
Bora Research Group, we are building a facility, and hopefully it's going to be a state-of-the-art facility in Eastern Congo. Hopefully the war is done in the next 5 years. But we acquired a property in Goma where we are going to be building a state-of-the-art research institution where hopefully we get more funding from the US and from different organizations where African problems and our diseases, we don't want them to be studied in Boston or in California or in Seattle.
What they're studying.
We want to study our own problem in Africa. And we're going to do that through AI.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the future of medicine. We're going to drive the medicine part through AI. We are building AI models for that case. We are getting people trained. We started the Bora Scholars program where we bring people from the Congo. We bring them here to get educated. Hopefully they finish and they are really good with their PhD.
Yeah.
And we can all go work together now in the medicine sector.
Yeah.
But of course, when you start the research institution, you don't just stop yourself in one aspect of things. I like to see myself as multidisciplinary. I've been talking to psychologists lately because there's actually a big need for psychologists in Congo. There is like the mental health of kids in the refugee camps.
Yeah.
You all have probably seen images of kids just being in some worst possible case, even adult. So Bora kind of has, I've been talking to psychologists and all this, like, hey, can we start collecting data, doing research, using AI into this field? Bora can build the AI, but can you guys tell us like some of the stuff that we could do better? So again, kind of just to put to your 4 points, as I mentioned earlier, you need food,
Yeah.
you need energy, you need medicine, and you need real estate development. Especially real estate, even in Kinshasa right now, you're gonna have 17 million people. Right now, there are 17 million. Probably like in 20 years from now, Kinshasa probably gonna have 25 million people.
It's, I'm talking about real estate there. I'm telling you, if you want to go invest in real estate, bro, you're going to make a lot of money. Of
course.
To have just an apartment of like 2 rooms and a living room, bro, it's kind of way...
It has so much
like,
potential.
So much potential. I've been talking lately with some family member that I'm telling you, like, if you want to go invest in real estate, I would really encourage you and go and do that. It's so much potential.
I want to tap on one area that you touched on a little bit, but in terms of the youth in Africa, right? What can just Africa in whole do to promote more entrepreneurs in Africa from just our youth there?
There is a few things that can be done, right? I've been reading a book. It's a very big book, and I recommend this to anybody.
Yeah.
Although the book seems to be, I mean, it's a great book. It just has, it depends on which type of lenses that you could read it in. But it's an amazing book. It's called Why Nations Fail.
Why?
Why Nations Fail.
Okay.
Yeah, and this guy is basically, it's more like a history book that's basically talking about how America became America, and why Latin America and North America, have been, they were all basically created by the same people.
Yeah.
So like they had the Spaniard that went to Latin America, and then they had like the English and so on that came to North America. But they came for the same reasons. Like these people did not come here just to be nice. When the English saw that the Spaniard were looting, silver and gold from Latin America and taking it to Spain, and Spain was becoming wealthy, they also sent they sent also like English
people
to North America. They're like, we weren't gonna fight the Spaniard in Latin America, we're gonna do it in North America. They also came for the same purpose, to loot and to take everything that they could. But although they came for same purpose, they really just found different type of organizations that were already in place in those regions. In Latin America, they found an organization that they could easily loot, and in North America, they found like a coalition of 30 different tribes.
More than that, actually.
Yeah,
Indian tribes.
They were
more.
A lot of them. They were working together. They had like a decent system that was going. And at the end of, and they did not have those gold, and they ended up becoming settlements. So the only way they could develop America is through settlements, and everything now come from there. Then you have the Great American Revolution. That's my favorite part of American. Actually, not American Revolution, but Industrial Revolution. My favorite part of American history is the Industrial Revolution. Seemed like a country that was not as wealthy and as successful, like America. North America was not that successful. They were, slavery was already abolished. There's no other way of basically getting things done. There was now a great wave of pushing and encouraging inventors, playing into the American genius. People like Thomas Edison, that had like thousands of patents. The patent system got developed and stuff like that. So as far as encouraging the youth, I wouldn't want to go with the idea of, I've seen this meme around that shows that we are so busy in Africa having these conferences on teaching people how to be entrepreneurs. Like, it's cool to be an entrepreneur and you could do this. And, I don't know if you guys have seen like this guy saying, like, it's a meme that says that, oh yeah, I have, I started my restaurant with like just 1 grain of salt. So we have had those type of stories. So you have these conferences where people just go and motivate people. Some points you don't need to motivate people. Some points you actually need to provide people tools.
Sure.
And these tools can be in terms of education, and it can be something that they could do after they are done with that session. Like this summer, Bora in partnership with a company called LTA, it's called Life Through Art and Technology, we are going to be having a boot camp
Yeah.
where we're actually teaching people real skills that's going to create new companies and new organizations. And
For sure.
they're going to have projects. Those projects, they're going to, like, we are teaching people how to use the power of business intelligence, so like power of the BI to solve local problems, like to build recommendation system. I'm going to teach people how to code with SQL and all these different stuff. I'm like, hey, you can use this tool to go, and they're going to have projects that are applied that they could go now to build a system hotel for a restaurant that actually become a product. And if they want to do that, if they want to pursue that, they could now have the tools that they need for them to go forward.
Nice.
That's one thing, giving people the tools. Second thing,
Yep.
change the banking system in Africa.
Okay.
Congo, out of anywhere else in Africa, has some of the worst banking system
You're
in the
referring
world.
to the currencies?
Not the
or
currency, the bank.
Just the banking system.
Yeah, just,
the way.
you know, here, I would rather have a loan in
Money's
America
trust.
than a loan in Congo.
Okay.
You will lose your home in Congo so quickly.
Yeah.
Like, the interests are compounded monthly,
Yeah.
and they go within the range of like 4 to 8%. These are monthly
Wow.
compounding interest. Think
That's
about it.
extremely high. Not a fast rate.
My dad almost lost his home. My dad would never take a loan anymore, like ever. He's like, no, I would rather suffer than going to a bank and ask for money. One thing we have faced is that there's an issue of capital. You can have great ideas, you can have all these things, but for you to actually get the money,
Get the money.
our banking system
Yeah.
is not working.
I
So
see.
if we want to help, youth in entrepreneurship, we give them the tools, which means like we promote that idea of invention and creating your own
Skills.
stuff.
Yeah.
We build a patent system. It's actually, I say patent on that table. Build a patent system
Yeah.
that is very strong. And then on the other end of it, you provide people with actually access to microfinance.
Yeah.
Like people like, hey, we can support you financially. And we've been thinking about all this stuff. Like I told you, like if I start telling you about what the dream is,
Sure.
it's so huge. Like Bora has this other idea that we're calling the Bora Leadership Academy, and that is the one that is actually going to be doing this training that we are doing this summer is through Bora Leadership Academy,
Yeah.
where our goal is to just start training leader at the grassroots.
Okay.
People who are going to lead your streets, people who are going to lead your... See, like we used to have like chef de dix maison, like this guy's in charge of like just 10 houses, not even the whole street.
Okay.
We have those people in Congo, and then you train those. You make it the youth, and then you bring it up now to a higher level. When you train people who are going to become the governors. And then you can train the next president of Congo. And that's how we actually leverage the youth. Like one thing that I have to tell to the youth, and I have to be very strong about this.
Yeah.
Being young is not a skill. African youth, they have to understand this. The youth is not a skill. The youth is not a talent. Youth is not competence. We'll be like, have more young people. No, do not have more young people. Have people who can get the job done.
Yeah.
There are a lot of 60 years old people who can actually have the experience and the ability to get stuff done. So
Yeah.
if you are young and you don't know how to do anything,
That
don't be
serves
out
another.
there asking the government. Like Congo just had the youngest prime minister of the history of Congo. Samuel Lukonde was like under 40 when he became prime minister.
Okay.
But I don't know what his record was. It's probably not the greatest. But he's a great guy, super educated, high. I wouldn't say like this guy, his CV is like perfect.
Yeah.
But there was also all these young people that I just want to drive the system. They really want to do something. But we've been confusing competence and youth.
Okay.
If we have to train people, give them the tools so they can actually be young and competent, not people who have to get the experience on the job. So you
Yeah.
can run a country or a continent like that.
Sure. That's really great. We love this, and as far as we will want this to go so far, because we still have like a lot of questions that still burning there, like so much. I know,
have to have series.
like we can have series, but I mean, we will talk about it with Adam, Taylor, and I. So we will see what we can really do and create maybe a really season of maybe.
Real quick. Real quick. Adam,
Okay.
I know a lot of people are wondering, You know, a lot of people are just curious to know this. What is left in the tank for you? What is the ceiling for you to achieve?
Bro, that's a very good question. I want to be among the third expedition to Mars.
Okay.
All right. It's like the first one has gone, they come back. The second people go, they come back. The third one,
Not the first, not the second.
not the second, because there's trial. I'm an engineer, so trial and error type of thing. But I want 3 data points. The third data point, I would be in that. I would be basically prompted and driven and go there. That would be one. Something out there. But as far as in terms of stuff that I have to achieve, I just feel like everything is just a matter of time. It's gonna happen. If I can imagine it, as I say, like if I can cook it, if I can think about it, if I can see it in my imagination, I feel like it could happen. And I've had that. I think it's come from God. That's motivation and strength that I can take anything. Basically, that I put my mind on.
Yeah, for sure.
And we could get it done. So that's kind of like what's still left in the tank. So there is still a lot of stuff. My career is growing. I'm getting a lot of attention. I have papers published and so many things that are happening that are good. But as far as anything else is out there, I really want to go to Mars.
Oh, wow.
Like Earth is like Mars.
I
Let's go to
remember
Mars.
I asked Taylor that question. He said no, he doesn't want to go.
Nope.
I asked, who was the second person I asked the question? Still in the podcast, I asked the second person, and then they said here, no, they don't want to go to Mars. So I think it was Mardoche.
Yeah.
I asked Mardoche the same question too, because Indy was like, no. I see when he said, you actually the first one was willing to go to Mars. And Adam, before we finish this, so what is the thing that most people value but you don't?
Things that most people value, but I don't. Man, that's probably one of the hardest questions that I ever heard, because I kind of just feel like I have this idea of like we think of being unique, but we are not really unique.
Okay.
So even if you think that I don't value that, well, I can say, okay, I'm gonna kind of just divide, like I'm gonna cluster things, right? Because I can't say like in general. I'm gonna say in my field of influence or around the people that I'm with, that I spend most of my time with, which lately they are scientists.
Yeah.
I discovered lately that I'm a scientist and I love to dance.
Oh,
So
if I got that, I was having this question in my mind.
and so it's something that I would tell my friends and my colleagues, I'm like, dude, I've actually even dragged a lot of my colleagues to this. I'd be like, dude, like, like I love to dance. And lately I've been taking dance classes. I'm doing Texas country dance. I've been doing swing, like West Coast swing.
Oh my God, he's really into it.
Like it brings me joy. Like I really love it. I can't think of something that's, because that idea of not being 100% unique, I can't really think of something that is so particular that I'm so into that a lot of people are not. I mean, if we go into, I guess, the African community level, one thing is that, I introduce myself everywhere I go. I'm Congolese, I'm African. And then they do like a 2 truths and a lie or whatever. Or is that the 2 truths and a lie or 2 lies and a truth? Like 2 truths and a lie. And then I always put like I love American football, and nobody gets that. Like I love American football. Like it's something that is uncommon among the African community.
Right,
like
sure.
people don't watch it, but I spend a lot of my time watching American football. So like, college football mostly. The NFL only when Patrick Mahomes is playing with the Chiefs. But apart from that, nobody else. But I love American football, so that also would be like something that would be odd within that group. So it depends on, I guess, the circle of influence and the people that I'm talking about. Then, because if I'm talking about, a lot of Texans, they love their country music and their country dance, and they're always there. Like I know these guys that go to those classes every single day. Like, right? So it depends on.
Sure. So, and the second question, in short answer, what is the advice that the best advice that you ever heard, received, or given?
Man, there are several. I'm gonna give probably three, just for the sake of time.
Yeah.
One, my dad said that the first impression has to always be the best. Have to always be the best.
I agree.
Make sure you make a really strong statement the first time. I came to your podcast. I bring my best here. I make sure I slept enough. I make sure that I did not do anything crazy. I was calm. I was on time. All those stuff.
And
right.
we.
So I had to make sure of that. So that's very important. That's one. The second great advice that I was given, this was for my career and for my research. It was by the professor I mentioned earlier.
Sure.
At the very beginning, Dr. Fazli Hussein. Dr. Fazli Hussein told me that when you are talented, when you have the ability to solve complex mathematical problems and all this stuff, do not focus on a project, but do real research. Okay. And real research are not just a project, they are a question. You ask a question and you go deep and deep and deep, and probably until you die, you're probably not gonna find the full answer. But wherever you are discovering in the process, it serves a lot of lives and it helps a lot of people.
Sure.
And that's how people win Nobel Prize. So that's the second one. The third one that actually is linked to raise your hand that I received this from a direct from a person, is that when you walk in a room and there is nobody, I got this from a book. The book is called The Magic of Thinking Big.
Yeah.
And he said that when you walk in a room and you find that there's no person who is helping people sit, like there's no usher that's helping people sit, and you are late, go find a seat in the front. There's always an empty seat in the front because most people do not have confidence in themselves, and the back seats are always full.
Man, I want you to elaborate on this. There's a reason why. No. There's a reason why. I know you talked about this whenever we were in the conference in Houston. Talked about the opportunity you had with Harvard. Bring that in here.
Yeah, so... oh, man.
It's a unique story, man. I love it.
Well, the Raise Your Hand book came out of huge power. I didn't just give that talk in Houston. I gave that talk in Seattle. I've been going around the country basically giving this same talk about Raise Your Hand. And so, same thing. As I told you, the first impression have to always be the best. I do research by question, ask a question, and I always find a seat in the front. Why? Is because, one of the examples of the success of those three things put together is that I was invited to give a talk to present my work at Harvard Medical School. And I showed up, and it was a great time. There was other conferences that were happening, other panels that were happening, and one of the career panel, like where should the career be, and these are experts people, 30 years in the industry, like, they've pioneered a lot of this stuff. Like the people that I look at them like, I'll be like that guy. And when I saw the lineup, I prepared my first impression. I had my 45-second elevator pitch. I had all this stuff. I even had the question that I'm going to ask that guy, even before I showed up there. And I knew exactly who is that person. So my first impression was strong. And of course, I always dress to impress.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's first impression. So, and dress to impress, usually I wouldn't put, if I'm wearing a suit, I'm probably not impressing enough. I always show up in my African clothing. Some people hate it, but I stand out.
Oh my God, I have a funny story. We went in college, we went to a job fair. Everybody's wearing, blue suits. Other people are wearing casual suits. My man shows up in a shiny style.
They say dress to
college
impress.
is so funny.
That was a really
They say dress to impress. So I show up. I always show up dressed to impress. So I'm always showing up, repping the culture. This is one for the culture. So I showed up there, dressed in my African attire, like always. And I show up at the panel. This panel, I was actually late because I was in another panel and I had to rush my way. And I remember, I was like, I read in this book that the front seats, there's always an empty seat. The back seats, just like I predicted, they were all packed. So I got in from the back. Look at all the seats in the back. Just like it's populated by people. And I'm like, whoa, okay. So I walked past everybody. I didn't even look at anybody. People thought I was weird. Like, like you pass everybody. The conference has been happening for more than 10 minutes and you're just late. I walked past everybody. I found a seat right in front of the speakers, like right there. Nobody wanted to take that seat. I'm like, well, nobody want to be on the spotlight. I'll take the spotlight. So
Okay.
I went, and as soon as the guy was done talking, I raised my hand. Asked him a question that he could relate to directly because I've read about him. I understood who he was and stuff. And he has like 9 letters after his name. This guy is everything. He has a PhD, he has an MD, he is really amazing scientist. And I have to ask my question. He just told me like, see me afterwards. Let's have a conversation about this. And I was like, yeah, I thought you never ask. After that, I showed up after. I was in the front. So basically when they are done, I'm the first person to walk to the guy. And I tell him, I want to be like you. Just like that. I want to build the research institution in Africa, in the Congo, that's going to be exactly like the one you're running at Harvard. It's an independent research institution, but it's within Harvard. So you guys still get the umbrella, but you operate completely independently. They have their own lawyers, they have their own accountant, they make their own money. So like, it's a whole independent thing. And I was like, I want to build something like this. And then he started asking me, what have you done about it? Of course, I brought my resume out of like, my list of accomplishments. Like, story of David, we'll never forget that part.
Sure.
I showed them. I was like, hey, I've built a company. I'm getting an MBA. I'm getting a PhD. By the end of 2024, I should have both the 2 degrees. And apart from that, I have built an organization. We have a property for this lab that I'm talking about. This is my circle of influence. The guy asked for my number. This is a top scientist who goes and like, yeah, I really would like to keep in touch with you. Please, like, I will have my assistant reach out. 2 weeks later, the assistant reached out to me. And they're like, yeah, when would be a good time for you to meet and have an interview with the professors? And that was the scientist that I was about to talk to. And when we got into the interview again, my preparation is always on point. Like, you never caught me off guard. It's like, no, I always kind of just try my best to be very prepared. And he started with trying to know what I do and stuff. I told him, we talked about my organization. Within 15 minutes, the guy spent the next 10 minutes just giving me compliments. Like, I never met a guy like who is so precise and who knows exactly what they're looking for. I would be honored to train you. And he's like, yes, I would be honored to train you. I would really be a part of your story. I would like to be a part of this. And I was like, from there I learned like, yeah, you gotta put something on the table. Like, people want to find their own interest in stuff. And I showed him that, hey, there is a lot of potential in this. And I've been using that tool everywhere now. That's like where I go. And
that's amazing.
So there's really, I've had series of great stories that probably wouldn't fit in a few-hour podcast.
That's why we're doing series.
Series.
Anyone who reach out can really just hear it. I always have something that I've discovered lately about myself is that I give pretty decent career advice.
Yeah, sure.
So I've not done all the careers, but I am addicted to learning.
Yeah.
Like very strong addiction to knowledge, like knowing stuff. So I've kind of got myself to know stuff, know information that can help a lot of people.
For sure.
So I've been kind of just freely giving people career advice.
That's great.
All right. I think just we are so glad to have this episode, and we can't wait to have a season with Adam Shebindu, so of maybe 3-5 episodes. And before we finish, I would like to finish with this idea of all of us can stay with it in mind, and we might discuss about it later. It says, make decisions that your 80 years old self and 10 years old self would be proud of. Your 80 years old self cares about the long term compounding of this decision of today. Your 10 years old self reminds you to stay foolish and have some fun along the way.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's amazing.
That's beautiful.
So I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, keep it for yourself.